Hey guys, happy Sunday, everybody. I hope everybody's doing great. Welcome to the Sunday Talk Show. I am Marlene. I am your host and the content creator for Living Your Best Life. Yes. Welcome everybody in the chat. I hope everybody's having a great Sunday. So, today in the Sunday Talk Show, I have as my co host Boss Life Online, and we have a great topic. You guys let me know, how is the volume? Is the volume okay? How is the volume, guys? Is it okay? Hey, Edward, welcome. How's the volume, guys? Is it okay? Hey, Keenan Thomas. Hey, J Luck. How's the volume, guys? Thank you, Kim. Okay, so before I get started, I always shout out my members. The members for the Best Life crew is Beverly Black, Boss Life Online, Edward Smart, Pandy's Hair Candy, and more. Be Amazing Sylvia, Marlin Music Channel, Melissa My Econ, Tony Clopton, Ranger, Team Ranger. And there's one, oh, Bozo Calvin Jr., Bozo the Dancing Calvin Jr. So thank you guys for being a member on my channel. I appreciate all my members. Thank you so much, guys. And I'm going to get started with the Best Life Crew song. Welcome, everybody.
Be encouraged, be inspired, be yourself, you will survive. Just know it, just breathe it, and be it, and live your best life.
Hi, guys. Welcome to the Sunday Talk Show. How's everybody? It's so good to see everybody on this Sunday. Welcome to the Sunday Talk Show. And like I said, today's topic is going to be with Boss Life Online. She is my co host today. So we welcome her to the Sunday Talk Show. And today's topic is 12 Steps to Recovery. So I'm going to invite up Boss Life Online. But before I do that, I am going to tell you guys a little bit about the topic. So let me invite off Boss Life Online because we know we want to see our girl. So let's invite her up and then we're going to get started. Hey, girl. Hey. Oh, you're muted.
Hey everybody, I was muted. My bad.
Yeah, you're bad. That's okay.
All
So
right.
welcome to the Sunday Talk Show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Marlene.
Yes. So, before we get started with everything, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the 12 steps because a lot of people don't understand that 12 steps to recovery. A lot of people, when they think of 12 steps, they just think about drugs, alcohol, but there are many other addictions besides drugs and alcohol. So I'm going to tell you guys those first. So there's a Clutters Anonymous, so people who are hoarders. There's a Cocaine Anonymous, Crystal Meth Anonymous, Debtors Anonymous. So I looked that up, and that means people who make debt but don't pay any debt. Dual Diagnosis Anonymous, Emotions Anonymous, Food Addicts in Recovery Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous, Marijuana Anonymous, Nicotine Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous, Pills Anonymous, Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, and Sexual Compulsives Anonymous. So, those are some of the addictions. I'm sure there's many more, right, Gio?
Yeah.
Yes, there's many more. So I wanted to tell you guys that there are many other addictions. So we're just going to talk about it now. So I'm going to give it over to Gio now, and you tell me, you start off the topic.
Okay. Hey, everybody. I am Gio, and I'm the Boss Life Online. I'm also the content creator for Team Build with Gio. And I am so proud of you guys over there. And I'm going to have to say this, Marlene, before I get started, that, wow. When I put the video together, all I could do was just cry for each one of y'all because I am just so proud that you guys is in this thing with me. So thank you very much. So let me get on to the subject today. 12 steps of recovery. And I want to tell you guys what the origin, where did this 12 steps come from? So let me just take my notes here and I'm going to read this and then we're going to get into it. The 12 steps began as the guiding principle of an organization called Alcoholics Anonymous, or AA, a mutual self-help group that was founded in Akron, Ohio in the mid-1930s. The steps were developed by the group's founding members, Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob Smith, two alcoholics who had struggled with the disease for years before finding a solution in abstinence, fellowship with others, and surrender to a spiritual higher power. In order to sustain their recovery, the founders of AA decided that they needed to share the lessons that they had learned with other alcoholics. So that is how the 12 steps came about, because it was just two guys that wanted so bad to stop drinking that they just kept on and kept on trying this until they found it, the 12 steps of recovery. And I am one happy child that they did that, because they have helped me with my sadness and grief throughout the years, and it continues to do the same thing for Gio. This is why you see this Gio, okay?
Yeah.
Not the girl, you know what I'm saying? But a person that's really living their lives and doesn't let that sadness and grief control me, because I have the 12 steps, and yes, I do practice them in my life, and along with other tools that I've gotten from my therapist. Now, Marlene, I'm going to go ahead and tell them what are the 12 steps. Okay? The 12 steps are a set of principles developed to help individuals struggling with addiction change their belief. Now, it doesn't have to be like Marlene said about alcohol. It don't have to be about drugs and Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholic Anonymous. This can be about for anybody that has an addiction or overdoing it. It could be if you're overdoing your meds, if you're overeating, if you're throwing up food. What is that addiction called?
That's bulimia.
Yeah, bulimia and whatever it is. You go out here stealing from the stores, okay? Kleptomaniac. I think that's what they call that, and you just can't stop. And it just makes your life so unmanageable. Well, these steps will help you quit it and get your life back. Trust me, I know. I done been through them, and I got my life back along with help from my therapist. Okay? Now, what's more is 12-step communities of all types help provide the support and accountability for many that is recovering. Okay? The 12 steps of recovery were designed as a foundation for individual recovery. Individual recovery. This means that you have to be willing to make a change. You have to be willing to see that whatever your addiction is, it is making your life unmanageable. And you can't do a darn thing about it. Not only is it making your life unmanageable, but your family, your friends, and whoever else that come in touch with you is unmanageable because you are. Okay. And
Right.
most people will say, oh, that's just, you know what I'm saying? How that
Hmm.
person acts and
Right.
blah, blah, blah. But you have to confront people and you have to stop being the person that helped them keep doing what they doing. Go ahead, Marlene.
Right. Well, I was going to say was the same thing that you were going to say. A lot of times when a person has an addiction, the first thing that you'll just tell them, like something ridiculous, like, okay, I'll just go with transparency. When I was 15 to 16 years old, I suffered with anorexia. And that is a eating disorder where you starve yourself, basically. I went from being the average weight for people of my height was about 125 pounds, and at the time I was 70 pounds.
Oh,
So it was bad for me. So I can tell you guys that it's not just alcohol addiction. There's not just a drug addiction. There's food addictions as well. And I needed help to get myself together.
right. Okay. And I use these steps, like I said, for loss, major loss in my life, and major grief, and major sadness. Okay. The
Mhm.
language of the original steps can be modified slightly for different programs. Okay. Yet the core message remains the same. Here are how the 12 steps work. The 12 steps are intended to be followed in sequence. They are not intended to just jump from 1 to 12, 3 to 8. No, you have to follow them in sequence, okay,
Right.
and in its entirety. You may not like all of them because I sure didn't,
Mhm. I didn't.
but some will be more challenging than others, but they all are crucial in your long-term success. That
Right.
means that you don't, in the long term, you're gonna get your life back when you follow these steps, and
Mhm.
you ain't gonna be wanting to do no drugs, you
Right.
know, unless you fall off the wagon or whatever.
Right.
But most people that go through these 12 steps that I know, because I worked at a treatment center, this is how I was introduced to this and how I found my therapist. They You would never know whatever it was that they was going through, because they just used the 12 steps to get their life back. Okay.
Right. Yeah,
All
and
right.
I just wanted to say, Gio, that um, the first step, like Tina Bibb said it in the chat, the first step is admitting that you have a problem, but also in that the family has to stop aiding you with your addiction, because sometimes
Right.
that's the biggest thing to get over. Somebody who has, say, a food addiction, or a person who has a problem with stealing or something, don't keep doing things to help them to continue with their addiction.
Right.
You have to also assume responsibility for the person with the addiction and
Right.
stop.
Yeah. So let's get on to step one. What is step one? Step one says we admitted we were powerless over our addiction and that our lives had become unmanageable. So when you're doing whatever the addiction is that you're doing, drugs, alcohol, stealing, killing, or whatever you're doing, and you trying, well, not killing, but whatever you trying to get over, to stop doing, first of all, you have to admit that you have a problem. Because if you do not admit that you have a problem, then you're not going to see where that addiction is making your life unmanageable. Okay?
Right, right.
Most
And like Angela says, enablers must stop. So somebody who is enabling somebody in an addiction, you cause them. You're basically aiding them to continue to be an addict, because you also, as a person who's a part of a person's family or a friend or a loved one, if you don't stop, you are aiding in them being an addict.
Right. And then they have another group called Enablers Anonymous, where people that have people that's either on drugs or alcohol or whatever the addiction is, that you can go there and get help for yourself and learn how not to be an enabler. So that group is out there as well. Okay. Now, most people believe in the authority of willpower and hold addicts responsible for their inability to control their behavior. However, step one asks that addict to release themselves from responsibility from their addiction and to admit that they cannot and will not ever be able to indulge in addictive substances or behaviors with any degree of safety. So that is what step one does. It makes the addict say to themselves, "Oh man, this is unmanageable. I can't do this anymore. Every time I do this, I hurt somebody. I'm stealing from my parents. I'm stealing from my kids with not bringing home the paycheck." So once a person get to that point and they believe that their life is unmanageable due to their addiction, then we're going to move on to step two.
Oh, hold
Okay.
on one second, Gio. I wanted we have a comment here in the chat. Silly Mommy says, how does that apply to grief?
Well, with grief, I had to first of all, I wasn't grieving. I was like just pissed off, angry. Okay. I had to admit to the sadness. I had to dig. That's where my therapist came in. I had to dig deep down to find out why was I was so mad, but I didn't want to cry because of the circumstances that happened in my life.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is why the steps were so important with me, and she worked them with me because I had forgot about God didn't care because He shouldn't have never let it happen. Okay, so then when I got to the point to where she was telling me in my therapy session that she couldn't help me no more because I didn't want to be honest,
Yeah.
and I just looked at her and I just bust out crying. I said, "Lord have mercy, help me, Jesus." She said, "Oh, now you want to call
Yeah.
on
I,
Jesus."
I
You
can say the same thing, Gio, because I went to therapy 2 times. The first
Right.
time I went was for my anorexia. The second time I went was for grief. You could say grieving
Right.
anonymous, because I honestly did not want to admit, like I was living in a box. I was just acting like nothing was happening to me, whereas
Thank you.
everybody else in my life could see that I was not okay. But in
Right.
my mind, I thought I was fooling everybody and myself, but it was not
That's what
happening.
I'm saying. Yeah. And so when she said that to me, I got really real. I said, "Ma'am, please don't kick me out. I need help. Please help me." I said, "What you want to know?" She said, "What is causing your grief?" And I told her. So we got down to the bottom of it. And she said, "That is making your life unmanageable. This
Oh
is
yeah,
why you're staying so mean." Okay.
right.
Right.
Edward says, did you have to write a letter to everyone who you may have hurt during your addiction?
Well, I had to write a letter to myself, but we ain't got to that part. Edward, stop skipping, okay? All right now.
We'll get back to it, Edward. We'll get back to it.
Stop skipping, Drake. Okay. All right now. Let's move on to step two. Okay, now once I got to the point to admit, okay, that I was grieving hard and didn't want to grieve because that pain was just too much for me, and I didn't know if I let myself feel it, if I was going to be okay. Okay, then we moved on to step two. Step two says, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. So I had to reach back for my faith, and I had to fake it till I made it. And then I had to borrow somebody else's faith, my therapist's faith, my pastor's faith, anybody's faith, because I was determined to get through these steps and be okay and get my life back. Okay.
Yeah.
So I can't.
I wanted to say one thing.
Mhm.
When I was going through this step two for me, when I had my eating disorder, I had to basically talk to my own self, like to my future self. I had to talk to myself and say, if you don't accept this, present Marlene, there will be no future Marlene.
Right.
And it had to hit in my mind that way, or I would have never been able to move on, because I just saw myself in that moment that I didn't see that there was going to be a future, because I had given up.
Right.
I
Yeah.
had basically given up. So it has to get to where you have to be real with yourself, that it had to really click in my head that I need help and I can't
Right.
do this by myself. And now it's time for me to seek, like you said, the second step here of
Right. You
believing
have to,
power
yeah.
greater than ourselves.
Right. You got to have a power greater than that pain, greater than whatever your addiction is. You have to find that somewhere. Nobody can really give it to you. So only thing I knew that I was taught and what I was raised up with and what I came to believe way back before the pain started was Jesus Christ. So that's what I said. I said, okay, you're going to have to come here, show up and show out, because I need you. Okay. So I came to believe back, to believe in God that way through the steps. Okay.
I had to reaffirm my faith, because at the time my faith was lacking.
Right. Well, most addicts, most people, faith is lacking. By the time you get to these steps, most people say, I just don't know how I'm gonna do it. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but you do it one day at a time. That's how you do it. Okay. So now we're gonna move on, Marlene, to step 3.
Okay.
Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. So, whatever your higher power is, or whatever you believe in, it could be whatever you believe in. You have to turn your will and your life over, because the way you was doing it wasn't working.
Yeah, it's not working.
It wasn't working. So this is what this says. Let me just read this. God is the higher power an addict will seek help from. So whatever your higher power is, the addict seeks help from. Okay. All right. As mentioned in step 2, since addiction cannot be controlled internally, external help is required to proceed. This is how step 3 came about. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God, or whatever your higher power is as you understand Him. Okay. This is why the affected give control over their will to their higher power, because they know they can't do it by themselves. It's got to be a higher power. It's got to be something that can help me manage this addiction.
Yeah, because you have to remember that there is a reason. You have to start. Well, that was for me. I can't speak for everybody. I had to say, get to the root cause of why. Why was I doing what I was doing? And that was part of my step 3 as well, is I had to get to the source of why. It's because my faith was lacking, because I was putting every burden, every problem, every emotion into myself, instead of leaning on other people. I was trying, basically saying, I thought I was so strong that I could handle everything, and nobody can handle everything.
Right. And so I managed to turn my will and my life over to a power greater than myself. Now, a lot of you have heard me say that's who I depend on. That's who, if he moved to the right, I'm moving to the right. If he moved to the left, I'm moving to the left. And if he say go straight ahead, Gio, I'm going straight ahead. Okay. So that's how much, and the higher power that I serve has all power over loss and grief. I don't have to be there anymore. I can choose, to say it's okay, Gio. I mean, you'll never forget it, but you don't have to let it control you. Why? Because you have a higher power today. Okay. All right now. So now step 4. I don't
Oh
even.
boy, I didn't
Yeah.
like step 4. And like,
But let me just read step 4. Step 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. I'm going to read that again. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Okay, so the first thing I said to my therapist, well, why I got to do that? I ain't do nothing. She said, we're going to go through all of the steps. I mean, everything that you need to talk about in order to get your life together. Whatever you did that you're not proud of, whatever you was doing while you was being so mad to other people, you need to make a searching and fearless moral inventory of yourself. Now, let me tell you what it says. It says this step is a mental housekeeping. The addict over time collects fears and judgments. And I mean, it's so true because I sure did. Okay. Step 4 asks that all of that built up waste be removed to make room for recovery. I was like, oh, right then, I can really stop being sad. You know what I'm saying? I was grateful. By taking notes on the effects of one's addictive behavior, they can identify what must change. This may be painful, but it helps them to process their impact. Ultimately, this inventory process makes recovery much more attainable. It also sets the stage for a successful life over the long term. Come on now. You should have seen me getting a pencil and paper, writing down things that while I was in the anger and sadness, just writing it. Oh, I should have never done this. I should have never said this.
see, you were better than me. I said, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. I said, I'm a good daughter. I'm a good sister. And she's like, ooh, we got so much work to do with this one.
Right. At first, I'm going to be real. At first, I didn't understand what all this had to do with being sad. You know what I'm saying? But just because my mom passed away and the way that she passed away was very, very sad for me. Okay. But there were things that I've done after that, you know, trying to grow up without a mom, you know, and my dad left. So there go abandonment right there, you know, and we had to raise ourselves, okay? And I was only 17 at the time, okay? And I had my sister was 18 and everybody else was below us, and it was 8 of us. So we all had to do what we had to do, get jobs and whatever, go stay with people and all of that stuff. So there were things.
So that means you all had to grow up faster.
Right. There were things in there that happened with our relatives, and oh God, I can't tell you how many cuss words I used, and you know, things that I said and did because I didn't know how to handle that kind of grief. Okay. So when I made a searching and fearless moral inventory of myself, I wrote down everything I could possibly think of because this step is going to help me make recovery much more attainable. So I was willing to do it. You know, even though I cried.
That's the thing. You were willing. When I went, I was only 15 or 16 years old. So, you know, I still had that teenage stubbornness in me with the attitude. I'd be like, I don't know why I'm here.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm here.
Yeah, but
like, we're going to sit here until you figure out why you're here.
I was too scared to tell my therapist that because she was already threatening to put my butt out. So I was willing to do whatever she told me to do, but I would never tell her that because she was like, are you ready? Well, you was brave, girl. Okay, now let's go on. So step 4 is to make a searching and fearless moral inventory of yourself. Now, step 5. So let me see now. Okay. So when you make a searching and fearless moral inventory of yourself, you have to write it all down. So now you got it on paper, right? So now we're going to move on to step 5. Admit it to God, okay? To ourselves. and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. I said, what? I'm not doing it.
Ooh. Mm-mm. No, I said,
I said, it was bad enough I had to admit it to myself. She said, well,
Now
that's
you gonna
one
tell
hurdle.
other people?
Right. She said, well, that's one hurdle you done got over.
It's basically telling people how you messed up.
Right.
You be like, I messed up, and you gotta be telling all these people. I'm like, and you know me, I was a teenager. I was like rolling my eyes.
Right. But you know what? You pick one person. And in Alcoholics Anonymous and all these anonymous groups, you have what they call a sponsor, someone that you trust.
Right.
You don't tell this to everybody, okay?
Oh, no.
Because this is what step 5 said. It said, admit it to God, to ourselves, and to another human being, the exact nature of our wrongs. Okay, so you can't go out there and tell the police.
Yeah,
You know,
you go tell the police, hey, police, I'm a thief.
no, you can't go. You have to tell it to God, to yourself, and another human being that you trust. That's not going to go out there and, spread the whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, let me tell you the goal of step 5, Marlene. The goal is to lower one's risk of destructive copying by relieving them of their guilt. This is supposed to relieve you of the guilt of whatever you done.
Yeah.
Okay?
I stayed in step 5 for a long time.
Right. Because shame creates a cycle of relapse, and that is challenging to break. If you don't sit down and admit to yourself, to God and another human being, you're likely to relapse.
You're going to relapse.
Right. Okay. And you won't get that life back. All right. Now, as you unburden yourself, the release helps you avoid unhealthy coping. Okay. Admitting specific harmful behavior begins in step 4, but true cleansing comes from speaking with the internal world about these acts. That means that admitting to God and another human being.
Yeah.
That's how you go stop being ashamed of what you did, or how you spoke to somebody, or what you stole, or whatever it is.
Or a person who is because we also talked about how people can have an addiction to shopping, like a person who's a hoarder or something, or people who won't throw things away. You have to be accountable. You need to confess to yourself, I need to stop shopping.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm wasting a lot of money. You have to go through all of those steps.
Right. You have to. All right. All right. Now, so the layers of this confession may happen with another human being or in isolation between you and your higher power. You got to tell somebody. It could be if you're telling it to your higher power, that's good. Okay. And if you're telling it to another human being, it's good. But see, I had a therapist. Okay. So I was telling it to God. I asked God to come in the room, and she was like, what?
Yeah.
I said, because I mean to get recovery here. I'm tired of being sad and acting out and crazy. I want my life back. So I want to write down everything that I've done, and I'm going to share it with my therapist, and I invited the Holy Spirit in. Right. That's how I did it. Okay. Now that brings us on to step 6. Ready? Step 6. We were entirely ready. Oh, amen and hallelujah. We were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character.
Don't start crying today. Don't you do it.
Okay. In step 6, the thoughts and fears of step 4 and 5 should be ready to be cleansed. That's the day I got my life back.
It is when I felt God's forgiveness. That's when my whole life turned around, because I think when you're in that, unless a person has been through it, that you really can't understand it. Some people will just tell you, just stop. It's much more than just stopping. It's
Right.
you admitting to yourself. It's you accepting it. It's you receiving it. It's you opening it up and letting yourself be vulnerable and telling somebody else. And then you're thinking, what judgments? What are they going to think about me? And then you think about God. Oh, I let down God. And that's a whole process too. And then
Right.
finally, when you felt like all of those things happen and now you feel like God forgives you, now you feel like you can move on with your life.
Right. That's exactly what step 6 is. Now we're gonna move into step 7. Step 7 says, humbly ask God to remove our shortcomings. The shortcoming is the addiction, and God will remove that addiction if you're following these steps and you're serious about it, and you know your life is unmanageable and you can't do nothing about it. Only a higher power can help you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to humbly, as when I got through reading this to my therapist, I had to humbly ask God, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, the angels to please remove some of this sadness so that I can get on with my life.
Yes,
And that,
yes, girl. Because listen, I had to be praying all the time on my knees, begging God, saying, "Purify my heart and give me a
amen.
new one." Because sometimes the things that we're going through, it's human, and you need more than human. You need the spirit to take
Amen.
over and make you new. That was in my case. I can't speak for everybody else, but I had to have the spirit come in and take over my life and direct
Right.
me out instead of walking in the human flesh.
I understand, girl. I was there, right there with you. We just was in a different state and
Yeah.
time, but these steps work. Okay, now I thought that was hard. Okay,
Mm.
step 8. Y'all ready for step 8? Made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. I was like, I say, what? I got to do what? Make a list. I made a list of all persons I had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all.
Yep.
And most of those people were my family, my sisters, my brothers. So, I tried to make amends, talk to them like face to face. They wasn't trying to hear it because you know what? They was hurting too.
See, and that's what makes step 8 so hard, is because when you have to tell people things, they may not want to hear it. That's why step 8 is so hard. You tell people, and then they'll be like, like either they don't want to talk to you, they don't want to hear it. I had some family members who said, "Girl, you ain't got no eating disorder. That's all in your head."
I know. I was
Mhm.
crazy. I can't tell you how many Thanksgivings I got put out of
You too.
trying to look here, trying to make amends.
No, trying to tell people the reason why I had the problem is because they did X, Y, and Z. And they'd be
Right,
like, "Come
right.
in here with that. Don't come in here
But
with
but because they just wasn't trying to hear that. So what
that."
I did, I went back to my therapist. I said, I was trying, but I got put out of Thanksgiving. And I just boom. And she said, write a letter. You have to do this step. You know,
You
you
do.
have
You have to do it.
you have to do this step. So what I did was I sit down and I wrote a letter to all of them and mailed it. And
Mhm.
once I done that, I just even felt freer. Okay, just freer. And I got phone calls from them telling me it's okay, we understand, but we didn't we got past all of that and blah blah. I said, okay, I'm just doing the steps. Okay, so even after step 8, I got really, really freer from my loss and
Mhm.
sadness. Okay,
Yeah,
now
well, hold on a second. Sure, Shannon put this in here. He says your family said that about your eating disorder. Yeah, they did, Shannon. They said I had one family member specifically that told me, you just aren't hungry enough. You just need to get hungry.
Oh
And
my God. Really? What a
and I
shame.
and that made me even worse. Like I had already gotten to step 8 and then I had to go all the way back to 1 again. She messed me up for a long time. She just said it's all in my head and I'm making up stuff.
Yeah.
Some people do not help you in your process. It's the
No.
unfortunate part about it. Some people are just going to be who they are, but you have to just work on yourself.
Right. And some people don't know how to be there for you. That's
Yeah.
why I think my family was like, no, don't talk about it. No, because it was too much for them too. But thank God today is all different because somebody went through the 12 steps, changed their role, and they had to come on with it. Okay?
Right.
Okay, now let me just tell y'all about step 8. Step 8 was made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Okay, up to this point, all the present mental baggage has been collected and is in the process of being purified. Step 8 uses the previous pattern and applies it to the past. Now the addict can be more open about their behavior and the effect it had on others. That's why we have to do step 8. I think that was to make amends so that we can see what the addiction has done not only to my life but to my sisters and brothers by me acting a certain way and saying stupid stuff and using words and all of this here kind of stuff. It made me see that I got to be a better person.
You, Gia, I'll tell you, you know what hit me the hardest? When I really got it is when my dad told me he was disappointed in me.
Oh
I
my
think that was worse than anything in my entire life. Somebody telling you that you let them down.
right.
Ooh, that was a
I
hard
let
pill to
myself
swallow.
down. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to apologize to yourself too. I had to write and she didn't even tell me to do it. I just did it. I wrote a letter to myself
Mhm.
telling me you finna be a better person. You God is in your life now. All this you put all that stuff behind you. You gotta wait to make it, G. So that's what you finna do. Whatever your therapist tell you to do and go or
Yeah.
whatever, you going. And that's the letter I wrote to myself. Now, after I did all of that, like I said, I got freer. Now we're gonna move on to step 9.
Yeah.
May direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. After the gathering of step 8 and 9, ask the addict to act. With every situation that is dealt with, a small amount of renewal occurs. That is so good. So
Mhm.
each act of forgiveness acts as proof of positive progression. So as I went through, writing my letters and mailing them out, which is step 9, because I had to look at this and then I wanted them to read it. And then when I started getting phone calls back saying we understand and this and that and you have really changed your life and you've done this and you've done that, that let me know I'm in recovery. All right, I'm gonna make it.
I'm happy for you, Gio, that you got that, but mine in my family was not positive. I want to speak to the people who go through that. Everybody's not going to get something positive like Gio. I didn't get the support. I got people who said it was my fault and you wanted to do that and that was your choice and don't try to blame us. All the whatever, the barriers were up. That
Well,
say don't blame me for your problems. That's your problem.
wow, that was
So I
very
didn't I
awesome.
didn't have the support. The only people who supported me was my mother and my father.
Well, then that was your support team right
Right.
there. And after my brothers and sisters, we after that it seemed like we got closer because I just said what I did, and that I was sorry for it, and I asked for forgiveness. Not only did I ask for forgiveness for them, but I forgave myself for whatever I
Yes.
was doing
And
at
and
that
I
time.
think, and Gio, and I think sometimes that's the hardest thing. You can go through all the steps, but that where it hits you, where you have to forgive yourself. To me,
Right.
that was, oh my goodness. It is so hard to stop beating yourself up.
And you know, guys, this wasn't so like in 2 months or 3 months. This took me up to at least 5 years to do. You
Oh,
know, to take these steps, you know, and really do them the right way. You know, because when I got to like step 9, what where I froze at was writing that inventory. You know, and you have to grow into recovery. You know what I'm saying? Some people it take them 10 years to get down to step 9. Okay, I
yeah.
was lucky. I did step 9 in what, maybe 3 years. You know, but
Mhm.
all the time I was making so many good friends in recovery, and plus I was working at a recovery center where other addicts and people were coming in, and God has really he stepped up into my life.
He has.
Okay, and I had to take these ladies to Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous meetings, and I was up in there just listening. Oh man, and I was steady going to my therapist, and those people that were in those meetings helped me so much. Because then I found out, oh, I ain't the only one. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? I'm not
That helps
alone.
so much. I didn't start making my progress and started until I started going to meetings. In the beginning, you think you can fix yourself. And I would
Right,
used to talk to myself, pump myself up, like, come on, Marlene, you got this. You know, you got this. You can shake it off, but you need support from other people.
right. And I didn't know. I didn't. I was telling my therapist one day. I said, you know, I'm going to these AA meetings and Narcotics Anonymous meeting. I said they really helped me. I can really see what you've been trying to get me to do. And she said, well, I was going to suggest it to you, but I didn't know how you would feel about it. And I said, I go every Tuesday and Thursdays with these ladies. And I said, do you think it would be okay if I just went on my own? And she said, yeah, just find you a nice group and go on your own.
Mm,
You know, and I didn't even go to a lost group or a not, I mean, you know, like a overeater. I went straight to AA
mm,
because that is where I got the Alcoholics Anonymous group is the ones that helped save my life. And I
mm-hmm.
would
That
go in
saved your
there
life.
and I would go in there and listen to them, and then I would say, you know what, they are right, because yet I have not started drinking yet. Okay, I have not started using dope yet.
Mhm.
These people were just straightforward, and when you walked out of there, you want to be like, oh my God, let me do what my therapist say to do. Okay, so they helped me a lot. I think I went to them for maybe about a whole year, and I met some really good friends, and I'm still friends with people. Okay, and so don't knock AA. It's just not for alcoholics. It's for anybody that want to go there to get their life together. And one time I stood up in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I said, how y'all do this? And this lady stood up. She said, baby, one day at a time.
Mhm.
And
Well,
that's what I
when I went to my for my food addiction for anorexic, mine used to be one meal at a time, not even a day. You just got to think about one meal. Don't think about all the meals you're gonna eat. You just talk about breakfast when you wake up.
right,
Then
right,
later on, we'll get to lunch.
right,
Because then that will, for me, that was overwhelming me, all the food I was gonna have to eat.
right.
It's
But
just me.
I made a lot of friends in Narcotics Anonymous and AA Anonymous just because I was taking those girls. You understand? We had a big van when you drive the van to take them to meetings because these people were they had their addiction was crack. Okay, so most of the time I was going with them and I was benefiting from all the stories and seeing people recover, really recover. Let me know I could do it too.
Yeah,
Okay, so I fought a little bit harder for my life.
yeah.
That's why I'm not willing to let nobody take it because you wasn't there with me.
Yeah, they didn't. They weren't there when you cried yourself a river of tears, and all the times you cried yourself to sleep. Well, I don't know about you, Gio, but they weren't there when I was tearing up my room and throwing stuff,
Girl, look here. If I
having
cry,
my
I mean,
meltdown. Mm-mm. They
I'm
weren't there
just
when you were having your meltdown. Mm-mm.
I'm just happy I made it through. See, Marlene, I always tell you, we made it. There's a lot of people that didn't make it.
Yep.
They gave up.
Do you know how many people, when I started going to therapy, I didn't know the amount of people every year who were dying from anorexia, and you would never know that because they just die. And
Yeah,
the family members most of the time do not say why they died because it comes with a kind of stigmatism, like the family had a problem.
right.
So people just die from anorexia every day. And
They
basically,
do.
they just starve themselves to death.
Yeah. Or drank themselves today, or cracked
Yeah.
themselves today, or just have a broken heart like mine was, you know. So now let's move on to step 10. Yeah, okay. Step 10 says continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. That means that I had to continue every day. I had to watch my behavior. I had to do things differently and things like that. So you have to continue to take personal inventory, and when you are wrong, you properly admit it. That means apologize to folks.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yesterday I came in here acting ignorant. Yesterday
Yeah.
I came in here and I hurt your feeling. I didn't mean to. I am sorry. That won't happen again because you have to find out where that came from to make you act like that.
So that you don't keep doing it, you have to
Yes,
recognize the behavior
yes.
and be accountable.
Right. Step 10 reinforces the moral inventory by maintaining one's ethical compass. Okay. So, is there any questions in the chat?
Yeah, there was Kim asked, so you didn't mind that they were not alcoholic when you were taking them to the meetings and you were going with them. They didn't mind that
I
you
was a counselor.
Yeah, no, I said they didn't mind that you were going with them.
Oh, that when you go to Alcoholics Anonymous and I
Mhm.
take the group, no, them people didn't mind.
Yeah, maybe some people don't want you to be there. I don't
No,
know.
well, the group that I went to, they already knew that this particular treatment center, we had to bring the clients there. But I used to tell them, I said, I'm a yet because I got sadness. I said, my therapist told me, I mean, I'll be up in there talking to them, telling the people that I belong here. I said, because you guys are helping me. And
Yeah.
then I would tell them what that whole story was. And they said, baby, you got a lot of yets. You might start drinking. I said, don't tell me that. That was, you guys would have to just have been there. I think it was a God thing for me. No, they didn't mind. Angela said, I almost died from anorexic in 1978, 60 pounds. Really, Angela?
Yeah.
60
Angela,
pounds?
I can relate. I was 70 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
No, Web Savvy, when you work for a treatment center, and I was like the office manager slash counselor slash entertainment girl there, because I started a group there called Women in Recovery, and we used to go around to a lot of churches and we used to sing. Okay, whether people knew it or not, I was in bad shape just like them. It's just that I was not using alcohol or drugs. but I felt like I didn't have my life in control.
You were out of control.
Right. And then my life was unmanageable. So when I went to those meetings, I did not, I made friends there, and they would say to me, you need to come by yourself, and you need to share your story with people. And I did, and people was amazed that I was standing there telling my story, and that I had not used, nor had I used alcohol for a relief.
Yeah, I went back as a speaker years ago, and they were laughing at me because the lady is still there. She's like in her 70s. And when she saw me, because the last time she saw me, I was like 17 years old. She said, "Girl, you got juicy."
Did she recognize you?
Yeah. She said, "Girl, you got juicy." I said,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah,
got
you got some weight on you,
I
right?
got some weight on me. And some
Right.
people, even though they go through the recovery, they still never gain a healthy weight.
Right. But see, but Web Savvy, I did not go venture out into other places that held those meetings. I only went to the place where people knew that where I worked. So I was a little bit more accepted. Now, Alcoholics and Narcotics Anonymous is supposed to be for people that actually want to get some kind of recovery, But I was shocked at some of the people that I saw in there, and most of them were famous. Okay, and I never have said who they were, and don't want to say because it's not.
Yeah, it's a private
Yeah, it's
thing.
a private thing, right? So I was like, what, But and then after I hear their story and stuff, I'm like, they was just sad like me. You know what I'm saying? It really, really helped me. It really did. So we're gonna move on to. Is there any other questions?
Yeah, just like Angela was saying back in her time when she was going through the anorexia, and I went through that too, because it's not something that people really think about anorexia as being a problem, because people would just say, if you don't eat, then just eat. And it's not as simple as
Right. No.
it's a control thing, because I can only speak for myself. In my life, it was because things in my life was out of control, and I said the only thing I can control is my food, so I'm just not going to eat. That was my thing, because I can
Yeah.
control this. Nobody can tell me I have to eat but me.
Nah. Yeah. But I want to answer what Web Savvy said. Let me go over here and read that. She said, where is, I can't see. Let's see. Okay, I wasn't sure if people there would actually say, hey, you're not an alcoholic. What are you doing here? No. You can walk into an AA group and just sit down.
Yeah, nobody
They're
will tell
not,
you to leave.
most people ain't gonna go into no AA. Come on, think about it, Well Savvy. If you don't think you got a problem, most people ain't gonna go. Okay, and then there are some people that know they have a problem, and they'll go and listen. And when you go into a group like that, they're not going to stop and say, hey, are you an alcoholic? No, all are welcome.
No, they won't even say anything to you, because they ask you who in the room wants has anything to say, and you could sit there for weeks and never say anything.
Yeah, never, because I sure did not nothing. I was just taking it in because it was something that I needed to hear. And I think the best part for me was I was not alone,
Mhm.
because I couldn't get my family to talk to me. So, but they would, you see? So
You
that's
have to talk to people who are going through your situation. That
thank you.
is vital for your success in getting through this and getting over it. You have
Right,
to talk to people who can understand you.
true. And when I went there, they understood me. Okay? And not only that, my therapist understood me. It was just a lot, and a lot of the people that I worked with at the treatment center, they understood why I wanted to go, because most of the counselors there were recovering addicts. See, I just believe that God gave me that job so that I could get my life together. Because I stayed there for like 8 years. I really enjoyed that job. I really did. Okay, step 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of God's will for us and the power to carry that out. Oh my God. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood God, praying only for knowledge of God's will for us and the power to carry that out. That's what I started praying. What is your will for me? And then give me the power to carry it out. I promise you, I will do it.
See, and also you have to put in their meditation, because a lot of people don't understand that prayer and meditation goes together.
Right.
You can't just pray for things. You have to meditate. In meditation is when you get the answer to your prayer. So that is something that I learned when I was going through the steps. I was always praying, but I was never waiting for an answer to the solution.
Right. You meditate to get the solution.
Okay. That's what I'm saying.
But you know, God works in mysterious ways, because I be praying and stuff like that, and then I be listening. I say, I don't hear nothing. And then I go to the grocery store, run up to somebody, we talking about how good God is, and then they say something that give me the answer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
I'll tell you. I'll tell you what somebody said who I never saw in my life in the grocery store. I have chills right now, goosebumps. This lady told me, stop putting God to the test. And that's when I had my eating disorder.
Wow. Because one day, girl,
and she walked away. She told me what she had to say, and she was an older lady. She said, "You better stop putting God to the test," and took her stuff and walked away. I was like, "Who? What?
Why did she walk up to you and say that?"
It had to be the Holy Spirit told her.
That had to be. Just like that lady that I was talking to, and this was in the grocery store too. It's funny how it's so similar it is. You know, we was just talking. We were standing there trying to decide whatever we was trying to decide on what to get. And then I said, hallelujah, or something like that. And she said, girl, are you a believer? And I said, yes. Okay. And we started talking, and she said something, and I had been praying about it, meditating about. I said, okay, it's time for me to do that. You know? And so I was like, God speaks through people. That's why it's okay to go get help, y'all. It's okay to go get help.
And I'm not throwing shade to other races, but it's something that I see in the Black community, that a lot of people in the Black community don't think it's okay to get therapy. It is okay.
It is.
You want to improve yourself, and there is nothing better than a person seeking to improve yourself. So, right. Okay. And it doesn't matter if other people talk about you, because when you want to improve yourself and you want to be better, do it for you, not for other people. Other people will be helped in the process, but it has to start with you.
Right. It's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to go get help.
Yeah.
All right. So that was step 11. It's a conscious contact with a higher power. Simply means talking and listening with intention. With the goal of growth in mind, one must use talking, listening, and reflection as tools. So sometimes when something hits me and I want to, I'm like, okay, well, why am I so mad over a little bit of just what they said? I got to find out where is this coming from. Trust me, it's always something from the past. That's why they said listening and reflections as tools. And then once I find out why that's happening, then I can change it. But if you don't know what to change, you can't change it.
You're right, Gio. And that's why it's so important, even now, even after my recovery, that's why it's important to have accountability partners, to have people who will check you on things. Because I've known a girl for years, and she'll just out of the blue, maybe every 6 months or so, she'd be like, "What did you eat?"
Lord, what did you eat?
Yeah, what
Oh
did you
my
eat?
God.
So you better keep me in check.
Amen. Amen, girl. I'm glad you got an accountability partner like that. Being humble is the key to progress. And when you're working the 12 steps, it's just being humble. Intentional listening to require humility. The same applies to asking for help or sharing aspects of guilt, burden, and gratitude. That is what step 11 is all about. All right, now we're going to go to the last step. All right. Having 12, the last step in the 12 steps, I love it. This says, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to other addicts and to practice these principles in all our affairs. By the time you get to step 12 and you have really worked step 1 all the way to step 12, you get your life back.
You do.
Okay? If you serious about your life, if you really, really want recovery, you will get your life back. Because I got mine back. And I guess what? And I tell you all the time, I ain't trying to go back there. There was too much pain back there. It's too much. And I ain't trying to go.
I've shared this with Gio before, but I went to see my therapist like a year or so ago. Ooh, when that lady saw me, she was so frightened. She thought I was coming back to treat me. She said, as soon as she saw me, she said, "Marlene," with my last name. And she said, "What are you doing here?"
Lord, you must have drove her crazy.
I asked her, I said, "Did you write a book about me?" Because she writes books because she's a psychologist. And she said, "Yeah, there's stuff in my book about you, but I can't say the names." And I was like, "Lord have mercy." She said I was one of her hardest clients.
After some of the stuff you told me, I don't know. If I was a therapist, I would have said, "Lady, you need to go find you need to go find another one because you ain't about to drive me crazy." See, I wasn't like that, Marlene. I just wanted I once I found out that I can get help and that I didn't have to feel that way all the time. I was way more, and after she told me she's gonna put me out, that's when I got real willing. I said, "You know what, G, you can be better than this." God, he must have saved me for a reason, you know? So now, 12, okay, so after having had a spiritual awakening as a result of the 12 steps, I try to carry this message to other addicts and to practice these principles in all my affairs. And that's exactly what I try to do every single day of my life is be a better person. Stay in touch with my feelings. If I'm feeling crazy, call somebody that I trust. Call my accountability partner. Tell them what's going on in my life. And this is why a lot of other addicts relapse. It's because
because they won't go back through the steps.
They stop going to the AA meetings. They stop getting the support that they need. You know what I'm saying? They stop having an accountability. They think that they can do it all on their own. They forget about a higher power and then the next thing is something come up in their life that puts them out, they go use.
See, and that's why I went the second time, Gio, because my first time was for my anorexia. The second time was after my dad died.
Yeah.
And then I could feel myself going down. And my sister said, "Girl, if you don't get back to your therapist,
right.
Listen."
I know loss is hard. Loss and grief
It's
is
hard.
hard, especially if you don't want to grieve. You don't
I
want to grieve
and that's
because you
my
don't
thing is
want
I didn't think I had a problem. I thought I was fooling everybody.
to. Yeah, well,
Yeah, and there's like, who you think you're fooling?
it
That
don't work. But anyway, step 12 transforms the addict from a recipient and into a giver. As they have benefited from treatment, meetings, and the 12 steps, they can help another person through those trials as well. These steps can be used to help an addict through the difficult transition from addiction to sobriety. They can also be modified to meet the needs of the addict. You know, if the concept of a higher power doesn't work, keep the essence of the steps and find a way that it can be achieved using the specific needs of the addict. Say like
yeah,
those all those anonymous places that you named in the beginning,
yeah,
you know, they use these steps, but they amend the steps to, you know, to what they need them to be.
yeah,
But you have to have all steps. Like, you're not going to walk into an AA meeting or overeaters meeting and say I'm an alcoholic and my life
yeah,
is, you have to say I'm an overeater. you
yeah.
know so you have to kind of change it up a bit to make all of these steps work for you. But it's just not for the 12 steps of recovery, y'all. It's just not for alcoholics and drug addicts. It's for
Listen,
everybody
and
that
let me
needs.
let me say it one more time, Gio. Let me go through what they are again. It that you can have it for a person who is a hoarder. So it's called Clutters Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, Crystal Meth Anonymous, Debtors Anonymous, Dual Diagnosis Anonymous. Well, that means when you have an addiction to more than one thing. Food Addiction in Recovery Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous, Marijuana Anonymous, Nicotine Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous, Pills Anonymous, Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, Sexual Compulsives Anonymous, and Workaholics Anonymous.
Really.
That's just a short, there's more than that. But I
Right.
didn't even realize that even a person could be a workaholic. Like
Right.
all you do is work. That's an
I
addiction.
mean, you can use these 12 steps on anything that is making your life unmanageable.
Yeah.
And you can use these steps on anything that's making your life unmanageable. If it's lost, use it.
Yeah.
You know,
If it's a person who pops pills,
right?
use it.
I recommend that if it's lost, like myself and Marlene, I recommend you go get a therapist too.
Hmm.
Because sometimes beneath that why you don't want to feel certain things and stuff like that is because of other things that has happened in your childhood. So
Right.
and sometimes that'll keep you from grieving because you're pissed off.
Yep. And
And you
and
don't
you
know,
have go
go ahead,
ahead, Gio.
and you don't know how to deal with that kind of pain. And it's like a thin line between love and hate.
Right. And you have to get to the root of why you have the problem. And that's the only way you're going to overcome it.
Right. And that's why these steps are important. And you have to make amends. You have to write down all the things that you've done, or the people that have hurt you in your life, everything. I mean, I think that's step 6. Well, we were in no, that's step which
I
one
think
is
that's
it?
I
Step
think it's
4.
5.
It's
Okay.
4. Step 4 is let me see, I got it on my paper here. Step 4. Step 2, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. That's step 4. So that means that you have to not only do you write down people that you have hurt, But you have to write down people that have hurt you.
Right.
You
Yeah,
can't just,
it goes around.
right, you can't put it to the side because it's going to come out sideways.
Hmm.
You're going to always pick crazy people to be in your life and wonder why I always had these kind of girlfriends. Or, you know what I'm saying? You really have to get down to the nitty gritty. You know,
Yep.
you
And
really do.
it causes honesty on your part. That's
Right,
the reason why a lot of people can't get through the addiction is because they will not be honest with themselves about where they have been and what has happened to them.
right. Because something had to happen for you to even,
Trigger you.
right, for you to even be that pain is just too much. So some people medicated with drugs and alcohol,
Or
you know,
food.
right? Me, I did mine with just being crazy and doing what I wanted to do, wasn't thinking about nobody but myself, and a workaholic.
Hmm.
I'm telling you,
And guess what? If you don't slow down, either a job or something will stop you. But
right.
you can't keep going. Something is going to stop you
I'm telling you,
eventually.
when I how I got help for my sadness and what was happening to me, I fell apart on my job. And my supervisor came and got me and sit me down and we talked. And they would not let me come back to work until I went and got myself a therapist and had started treatment. I'm telling you. I was working at that treatment center when all of that happened. I just fell. It was like the best breakdown I ever had
Yeah,
because I had to go get help,
yeah.
and they would not
And,
let me come back there without
and right.
having some type of help. So
And also, Gio, that's the reason why they said that there is a thing called duo addicts. Like you have more than one addiction. I have seen people who are workaholics that
right,
also have the problem of what is it called? Like hoarding because they work so much, they shop a lot. So
right,
sometimes all those addictions, you start having several addictions and you are out of control. So please seek help. This is for anybody who may even watch on the replay who is not here. If you need help, if you need to talk to somebody, please seek the help of a therapist. And there is also a 1-800 number. I'm going to put that in the description box of this video.
right. Yes, Cam, I agree with what Cam said that we all have something that we can use therapy for. Maybe one session, two sessions, three sessions, but just don't ever think that you are alone. You're never alone.
Yeah, never.
There is help out here. You just have to open up, find somebody that can help you.
Right.
They have a lot of hotline uh, uh, phone calls you can make. You know, they just
And,
have a
and
lot of help.
And now with the pandemic, now you can actually call a therapist on a Zoom call.
Right,
So it does not always have to be something where you're afraid of walking in. You don't have to show your face or nothing. You can just talk to them through a Zoom call and have a therapy session through Zoom.
right,
So there's many ways to get help. Don't think it has to be a phone call. If you don't want it to be a phone call, you could do a Zoom and call into a therapist, or you can go to an anonymous meeting.
right.
But
Whatever
most
it
important
is
thing,
that you're trying to stop, find a meeting for that. And if you ask me, you know, those meetings are very, very, very helpful. I mean, it helped me see so many things that my therapist was trying to get me to see, but because somebody else was saying how they felt. See, Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous is just not about alcohol and drugs, y'all. It's about getting down to the root of why. they use alcohol.
Why you
Most
wouldn't?
of, women, they were raped. They never told it, or their father did it, or, or this or that, or somebody got killed, and, blah, blah. That is the root of the problem. You understand? And and that's what made them use, because they didn't know how to handle that. So
Yeah.
it's just not about alcohol and drugs. It's about really getting down to the root of what caused you to take that first drink, that second drink, and third drink. Now you're drinking a whole bottle every day.
Right.
What
The-
caused that? That is
like
what.
my therapist, one of the first things my therapist told me when I went to a session, she says, honey, you have a deep wound. You cannot put a band-aid on what you have going on. And that's what I was trying to do. You
Right.
can't just say I have a little bit. I said, you got this deep this deep wound. You can't put no band-aid on that, honey. I said, you're gonna have to heal all those levels first before you can have that band-aid.
Yeah.
And that's what I had to go through.
Yeah. So that's what I want to get across to people, that this just not about those alcohol and drugs. You got to find out what made you use like that. And once you find that out, that is what you do a fearless and moral inventory of. Who did something to you? Who hurt you that bad? You know,
Mhm.
something. So
And
that
go ahead, Gio. I'm sorry.
so that is what the 12 steps are about, and what they help you get to. And a lot of people say, oh, she go to AA and Alcoholics Anonymous. I say, I'm proud of it.
Right.
Because look who Geo is today.
Mhm.
I got high self-esteem. I have confidence. I have a higher power who is bigger than any fear and any sadness that I may feel. You better believe it.
Mhm.
And today I always, at least once a year, go back and share how I made it.
Yeah, and I will say that too, Gio. I agree with that. Going back and talking to people, not only you're helping yourself, because when you start hearing other people's testimony and you look at them and you say, I remember when I was there. I
Right,
remember when I was there. It's nice to see people who are at different levels of their recovery, and
right,
it makes you reaffirm in your own mind and heart, I was there and I'm not going back.
right. A lot of people I know could use some AA. Not that they alcoholics and
Yeah, they're
but
just
they
an
don't want,
addict. They're
right,
some form of
yeah,
addict.
but they don't want to admit it.
Yeah, and that's the biggest issue. So what and we have to realize that once you get to the root of your problem, all of the things that happened to you in your past, and you have healed your heart and your mind from it, now you're unstoppable, because you're not carrying that. It's like a weight that you have on your shoulder. And
Really?
it's unbearable. After a while, it's a little bit, then it's like carrying a sack of potatoes, then it's 20 pounds, 50, it's 100 pounds, and that's when you get out of control. You've
Right.
got to heal the wounds of your heart and your mind so that
Mhm.
you're physically and emotionally able to cope with life.
Yeah, and you have to grow into yourself, you know, and you have to how I got my confidence and all of this was just through Jesus Christ. I'm telling you, okay,
Mhm.
and taking a fearless and moral inventory of people that hurt me, how they hurt me, when they hurt me, and then the stuff that I did that set me free. I lost a lot of that baggage. Okay. Then I was like, okay, what I do now? I said, then that was, I think, step 11 is I prayed for meditation and for the will of God. Let me do your will, God. See? And that's what I'm doing today, his will. And that's
Mhm.
why I'm happy, you know,
Mhm.
and that's how come I'm a winner. And I'm
Yeah,
successful today. I
right.
could not do that back then without this.
Mhm.
I would have never thought I would be at home working. That's all my life I wanted to do that, but could not do it. couldn't pull it together. But today, after recovery, hey, that's all I'm gonna say. Like I said to them birds down there in Florida with Marlene. Hey, like they was gonna speak back, Marlene.
I remember.
Marlene
Oh my-
said, Gio, have you seen those? What kind of birds was it?
Those
Egrets.
are called egrets.
So Marlene said, Boss, have you seen those kind of birds? I say, no, just on TV. And then I said, hey. Y'all would have had, y'all would, you would
If
have
you
had
haven't seen that vlog, you have to see it. It's on Boss Life Online channel when she came and saw me here in Florida.
oh my God. I mean,
Talking about.
you would have to be there for that one. That was funny. We laughed.
We laughed and laughed about that one.
But yeah, and see, you can even, because before all of this, I didn't know how to laugh and be happy. You know, I was just go in my room when everybody was asleep. I used to stay with my sisters, and I would just cry to myself
Yeah.
because I didn't.
It's so funny that after recovery is when you can start to see the beauty within yourself and
Right.
also see the potential in other people. Before, I used to always look at others and say, man, I wish I could do things like them. Now I don't do that no more. I don't want to do things like them. I want to do things like me.
There you go.
Yeah, that's the difference. Before recovery, you compare yourself to other people.
Right.
And then after recovery, you say, now what can I do?
Right.
Big difference.
I'm just glad. I'm just glad I went through that. I'm glad that I can share this with people and to let them know that you can do it too.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I do this, and that's why I'm so grateful for Gia opening up her heart and sharing and being on this panel, because it's not easy to let yourself be vulnerable and tell things that goes on in your life. It's not easy.
Well, see, that's why God chose us, Marlene, because He know we was gonna tell it.
Yes.
Testify.
Now you have to tell me to shut up. Remember before when I never used to talk? Now he said, well, that girl, shut up. Will you shut up?
But anyway, I just love Marlene. Y'all already know we are the best of friends. And like I said, I went down to Florida and met her, and we just had a good time. And I'm always happy to be on your show, Marlene. Even though half the time she asks me, I'd be like, really, Marlene?
Yeah, I don't even really ask her, y'all. I said, Sunday you gonna be on my show.
And I really, I don't mind being on anybody's show, but I'm just a real person. If you ask me a question, I'm just gonna just say what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no filter here. It's just, this is how it was, and this is how it was. Done.
Yeah, recovery is not an easy thing to go through, but it is one of the best things. If something is bothering you and you can't really, get over it yourself, go see a therapist, and ask her about the 12 steps and see how she can fit that into your therapy or whatever she gonna do. Okay? But get help. You don't have to be in that. Whatever it is, whatever is hurting you,
Whatever is hurting you have to cope, because I will also say that if you are unhappy, you are going to make the people around you unhappy.
Right.
You're going to make your family miserable. You're going to be miserable on the job. You're not going to be productive. So to be happy within yourself, you have to deal with yourself.
Right.
Yes. Well, so I thank you so much for being on the show. So thank you guys. I appreciate everybody who is here. I enjoyed this Sunday talk show. And like I said, I'm going to put the link to the hotline for anybody who wants to talk to somebody. And also, this involves people who have emotional issues right now, and they're feeling suicidal, or you're feeling like you can't just cope with your life in general. You need to talk to somebody if you feel like you're at that point. And that was the purpose of my show. I wanted to bring awareness to this and also let you guys know that you can get through it. Don't give up.
Right.
Yes. So thank you so much for being here, Jill. I'll see you on the next one.
Bye-bye, everybody.
So I thank Jill for being a part of the program. And I thank everybody who is here. Thank you for your comments, for your support. It really does mean a lot to me. Thank you so much, everybody who is in the chat. Thank you, those who opened up your heart and shared with me your thoughts. You guys have a great evening, and I will see you guys on the next Sunday talk show. Next week is back to the original time of 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I will see you guys then next Sunday. Have a great evening, guys. Bye-bye.